Hey everyone, so I wanted to do a video on labor and delivery and recovery, and it's been forever. My son is now 4.5 months old, so I'm going to get right to it, and this will probably be split into a few videos. So basically, my due date was July 25th, and I gave birth on July 27th. Up until then, I kind of had, mild cramping, and, on July 12th, I went for a walk, a long walk, and afterwards there was blood down there, so I was like, oh no, so I went to the hospital to get checked, and they're like, oh yeah, that's fine, it's all good. So I went home and I went to bed and it was all normal. So and then my due date came, July 25th, and I felt normal, and nothing happened that day. I just had I guess TMI, but I had discharge up until then, so it was just kind of wet. But that was normal as well. And then July 26th, or I guess maybe, yeah, July 25th at 3 a.m. That's when I got contractions. So it was 2 a.m. I felt something. I was like, oh, it's uncomfortable. 3 a.m. and then it went on from there. And it's funny because on the 25th and around that time, I had a burst of energy to make food and prepare food, and that's called the nesting instinct. And I was just go, 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 preparing, getting ready. So labor's close when you have that instinct. And my belly felt really heavy, and it was really uncomfortable. I couldn't really sleep at all. So I knew that it was close. So on I guess the night of the 25th, technically the 26th, so it was kicking nonstop at 1 a.m. So I had hip pain. It was uncomfortable and hard to sleep. 2 a.m. contraction, 3 a.m. contraction, then every hour until 4 a.m. And then they were infrequent, but around every 5 to 10 minutes. Lighting. And they were 45 seconds to a minute long. There was possibly a little leakage, but like I said, it was discharge, so I was just wet anyways. Then I was just went on the day, I tried to get some rest, showered, I would have contractions all day. Then around 2-ish, 2 p.m. on the 26th, some of them really started to hurt, crying hurt, I had a heat pack and an ice pack. When the contraction happened, I felt it in my back and just in the whole lower area. I had a heat pack, ice pack, and it was oh my god, this sucks. At first the contractions were ooh, ow, that's uncomfortable. And then eventually it's oh my god, that sucks. What the heck? So, yeah, so I had a heat pack, ice pack, and it'd be fine after the contraction was over, but the contraction itself kind of sucked. And I just have my notes here. So it started in my thighs and radiated up to my hip and my lower back. And it killed. My belly would tighten, so you knew it was coming. And it's kind of, contractions have a peak, so you know it's coming, it happens, peak, and then it goes down. So, then I went to the hospital to go get checked, and they're I think she did it wrong. But she's oh, even a fingertip dilated, and I knew that was wrong. But she said my cervix was soft. And that was 6:30 at the hospital, and we got home and it was 8 p.m. It's half an hour away. And they had to do monitoring and all that stuff. And then it was 8 p.m. They were 4 to 5 minutes apart, and I was just could barely walk, and just swearing. And they're really uncomfortable. So 11 at night on the 26th, I had a bath, and I kind of felt the need to push, and the plug came out. It was really gross. If you ever seen plug, it's kind of it's mucus rat bloody thing that's really disgusting. Blech. and it was like pretty big. It was like that big, like, I don't know, it was pretty big. So the plug came out in the bath. You know it's a plug because it's big. And then, like, I couldn't take contractions. I could barely be in the bath. I was just like, no, like, I just want to get, like, I couldn't sit. It was really uncomfortable to sit. It was uncomfortable to lay down. I was like, I just want to get to the hospital so I can sleep, like, get some pain stuff. So, we got to the hospital close to midnight. We had to go through the emergency area. And I just remember, like, the bumpy car ride, and it sucked. Like, contractions were happening so often, and when there was, like, I couldn't even sit. I couldn't even put the seatbelt on. Like, I was just so uncomfortable. And I remember, like, screaming in, like, the parking lot. Like, coming, like, once we were there in the parking lot, I would, like, walk a few steps and then have contractions and be like, and stop, and then walk a few steps and have contractions, and we had to walk up to the maternity ward, and it would take us forever, because I would, like, stop for a contraction. I remember even just getting up to the maternity ward, it's like, you go up the elevator, we got off the elevator, I had a contraction right then, and I was like, I can't even get to triage, like, I'm just in so much pain. So, yeah, I got admitted, and it hit hard. Like, I got the doctor to check, and they're like, yeah, you're, like, 4 centimeters dilated. So, I was relieved because they could admit you then. So, we got admitted, got to the room. The room was really nice. Like, I even had a couch for my parents, and like, there was a rocking chair and a place for baby, and, like, a really big bed, and I brought my pillow, which was really helpful. And I had my water bottle. I was, like, really thirsty the whole time. I was drinking water the whole time I was in labor. So that's really important. And my mom would just constantly go and refill it for me. Then, like, it was probably an hour after being admitted. I was like, okay, I think I want to try something for pain. Like, I made it this far. Let's just try something. So I got the laughing gas. And at first it was funny. Like, I actually, like, was kind of laughing. But then eventually it kind of, like, almost wears off, and it was more of a mental game. Like, I knew the tanks were empty, but I was like, no, there's stuff in it, like, it's okay. But the tanks would actually run out, and I would get mad at the nurses. I was like, why aren't you checking them? Like, I'm in pain, like, you need to check these tanks. And I went through, like, 4 or 5 tanks, or 6, I don't know, I went through a lot. The nurses were with us, like, all the time, and they were really helpful. And I was kind of mad because they wouldn't really check me. I'm like, okay, I've been in pain, like, for a while. Like, aren't you going to see how, like, dilated I am? Like, I don't know how this works. Like, and, yeah, so I laid on the bed and tried to sleep. It got bad. Like, it got, like, you're, like, seeing red, like, that type of pain. Like, so, like, dagger stabbing pain. Like, it was the worst pain in my life. And also, I didn't get a break between contractions. They were almost every minute to just constant contractions all the time, and it was terrible. Oh, and I was pissed off at everyone. I was just, like, grouchy and bitchy because I was in pain. So, if anyone gives you a hug, just be like, no, I'm in labor. Like, shut up. I can give you a hug. And then when the contractions were, like, non-stop, I was like, I need something else. So we tried fentanyl, and seriously, that did nothing. I was like, did you even put something in me? Like, I was arguing with them, because I swear they didn't do it. And then 4:30 a.m., so that'd be, like, technically now we're into the 27th. So I got checked. My progress was only 6 or 7 centimeters dilated. And then, like, this whole night, like, I couldn't sleep, and they said the anesthesiologist, the guy who does the epidural, isn't there. Like, he's busy or something until 7:30 the next day in the morning. So I waited, and I was like, it was 7 a.m. I was like, go and get that guy. Like, I need help. Like, I was just, like, contractions were, like, non-stop, and I was in so much pain. I couldn't even breathe. Like, it was just hard. So I do recommend like practicing breathing before you give birth, because that's really helpful. So 7 a.m. thank like frig, I got the epidural. And so they hooked me up to fluids, and the epidural worked fast, and it got a catheter in. I didn't even feel it. Then Kev came at 9 a.m. because he had to get a flight from Calgary over to BC. And as soon as, I think the epidural did slow things down. Sorry, my hair is crazy. It's just kind of air dried. So yeah, I do think the epidural slowed it all down, but it was worth it. Like, the contractions were like every minute. I was just so scared that even they were prepping my back. Oh, and it's a myth that if you have a tattoo, you can't get an epidural, because I have like a giant one on my back, and he went right through it, and he's like, oh yeah, that's all good. So he was like a perfect, like, he was just wanted everything perfect. Like, he redid everything and like was cleaning it, and he did such a good job. And I was just like praying that I didn't have a contraction, because I didn't want to move when he was poking my spine. So, but I didn't, and he did it perfectly, so that went well. I didn't even really feel it. Like, I kind of felt pressure, but I was like, this is way better than a contraction. Like, I'm gonna get pain relief. And almost instantly, contractions like went away. Like, I was having them like every minute, but I didn't feel them at all. And it was like such a relief to like breathe and like relax. Like, wow. And plus, I didn't have to get up to the washroom, so that was nice, because it's like really uncomfortable when you have to get up and pee and you're in labor. It's hard. You got like a big belly, and then I was like, I'm hungry. Oh, I forgot to mention at like the 26th at like 8 p.m. or I guess 6 p.m. or 8 p.m. I had dinner, because I thought I'd eat something, get something in my system. And then I didn't really eat until then, and then when the next day, the 27th at 7 a.m., I got the epidural. Then after that, I was like, once I kind of like, you know, the pain went away, I was like, oh, I'm hungry. Like, is this normal? Can I eat? And they're like, yeah, you haven't eaten in like forever, so might as well. So I had like hospital food, and it was gross, but it was still food. It was like fucking Weetabix and toast and peanut butter. Yeah, it was like some sort of porridge. Then I had more, like, I was really thirsty. Lots of water, had a Quest bar. But definitely slowed labor down. Chilled with everyone. And then, like, the epidural was kind of wearing off around 10 or 11 a.m. So I pressed the button that they give you, and it helped till around 2. And I could, like, kind of feel my feet, and started getting pressure. And like they would like check you with an ice pack and like put it in places and see if you could feel it, and I could kind of feel it in my feet. I could wiggle my toes the whole time, like I was fine, but like it didn't affect me that way. It did have an adverse effect. Like, I got the worst headache, and I had hot, cold, hot, cold. I would get hot blankets, I would get cold, I would have a fever. And then baby's heart rate was affected. Baby's heart rate was like kind of dropping, so they were worried about that. But that was kind of normal with the epidural for that to happen. So yeah, I started feeling pressure, and so they checked me. And at 2 p.m., I was 9 centimeters dilated. So I was like, ooh, this is awesome. Like, I didn't even feel that. And then my water hadn't broke, so the doctor broke my membranes, which is your water, with her hand, actually. And then I felt more pressure, and then I got checked again, and I had to wait for like the doctor, and that was annoying, because you're like on the list of like all, like, so many people giving birth in the ward, and like you're on so and so on the list, so I had to wait for that. I'm gonna pause the video here and go on to part 2.